Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another video on my channel, Hairliciously. If you guys are new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe so that you guys are updated on hair loss and hair transplant topics, as well as updates on current hair loss treatments in the pipelines. Visit my website at hairliciously.com to purchase your microneedling device, which is scientifically proven to stimulate hair growth, my low-level laser therapy cap, DHT blocking shampoo, conditioner, and serum, hair growth vitamins, and a few other products to help those who are losing hair. In today's video, I wanted to dive into the topic of an interesting Chinese-based company called Kintor Pharmaceutical, who is currently in the works of developing a topical anti-androgen called pyrilutamide, or KX-826, that would treat androgenic alopecia. I've been getting a lot of requests to cover this topic, and also felt that I wasn't really keeping up with the current research going on. So I wanted everybody to at least be aware of current developments with this company and their pipeline. It's always great news to learn of other companies that are developing new drugs to treat hair loss. And the more that we have going on, I think we do have a greater chance of finding better and more efficacious treatments than current mainstream FDA, approved drugs like finasteride and minoxidil. This is also going to open up a lot of doors as well for people who may experience side effects from certain medications or those who are not responders to treatments, and it's going to give them the opportunity to hop on other treatments and fight the good fight against hair loss. So a little history on Kintor Pharmaceutical and why I feel like this is also another solid pharmaceutical company. It's actually one of my favorite ones that is in the works of not only finding better hair loss treatments, but also in other realms as well. If you take a look at their product pipeline, they actually have a lot of stuff going on, a lot of research and development on two androgen receptor antagonists, KX-826, for the treatment of hair loss, and their lead product, proxalutamide, with developmental code name GT20029, which is aimed towards the treatment of COVID-19 and prostate cancer and also breast cancer. Proxalutamide was recently approved in Paraguay for the treatment of COVID, and FDA greenlighted on May 2021 with the completion of phase 3 clinical trials, hopefully by next year. So this company, I feel like, is really going at a rapid pace to really get their products out and on board and also get approved, which is good news. They also have a diversified product pipeline with a major focus on cancers, acne treatments, and other AR related diseases. The nice thing about this topical non-steroidal anti-androgen pyrilutamide, along with the well-known, you guys know, CB0301, Brazula, we have RU5841, bicalutamide, flutamide, and a bunch of other anti-androgens, is that it targets hair loss in a completely different mechanism compared to that of 5-AR inhibitors like finasteride and dutasteride. Finasteride and dutasteride block the action of the enzyme 5-AR, which reduces systemic DHT levels by about 70% and 90% respectively. Pyrilutamide and other anti-androgens prevent testosterone and DHT and other endogenous androgens from binding to androgen receptors in the hair follicles and other tissues, and therefore theoretically it should not affect hormone serum levels. This would be a dream come true for those who are stuck or scared of having to use finasteride and dealing with potential side effects, despite the fact that it's just a small percentage of people, or even for those who are currently using finasteride in conjunction with other hair loss treatments and simply looking to add something else to their hair loss treatment stack that target hair loss through a different mechanism of action. I think this is especially important, especially if your main arsenal is just finasteride, because there are still remnants of about 30% DHT circulating in the system, let alone a spike in testosterone levels, which is still androgenic in nature. And as a result, finasteride isn't likely going to halt further progression of hair loss. It's definitely going to slow it down for the majority of users, but the androgens will likely continue to cause havoc on the hair follicles. And this is why sometimes we have people who are even on dutasteride, which wipes out nearly all systemic DHT, can still continue to lose hair due to other androgens like testosterone that are still present. And I feel like this is why adding in an anti-androgen to target the androgen receptors would actually add that extra layer of protection that 5-AR inhibitors cannot offer. So phase 1 clinical trials were completed in China last year, and they proved that pyrilutamide was indeed safe to use and it did not cause any major side effects in humans. We also received an update earlier this month regarding their phase 2 clinical trial titled Kintor Pharma announces the primary endpoint of phase 2 clinical study of KX-826's treatment of androgenic alopecia was met. And basically the phase 2 clinical trial was a multi-center randomized double-blinded placebo-controlled study to assess the efficacy and safety of KX-826 for the treatment of 120 androgenic alopecia male subjects. The primary endpoint for the trial was the change from baseline to non-vellus target area hair counts at week 24 in comparison with placebo. The majority of adverse events were mild and no serious adverse events were reported. KX-826 was well tolerated and no new safety signals were observed. 5 mg KX-826 was determined as the dose to be taken into phase 3 clinical trial in China, which we expect to kick off in Q4 of 2021. Per the company's CEO, more information will be released on phase 2 clinical trials later this year. And I also add that the US has also received the green light from the FDA to begin phase 2 clinical trials. And with the completion of phase 2 clinical trials already in China, it's likely going to be available in China first if everything just goes as planned. Unfortunately, we actually do not have any statistics to go off of from the completion of phase 2 trials. But I will say that KX-826 created a statistically significant change in non-vellus hair count in a targeted area compared to placebo. So this is really good news as there was a significant change in hair count. But I'll be updating you guys once that information becomes readily available. And like I stated, if all goes well, I can see them completing their phase 2 clinical trials in a couple of years and commercializing the treatment as early as 2024 to 2025. But this is solely my speculation. I think it's interesting and it's going to be helpful to know about the binding affinity of pyrilutamide and see how it's going to compare with CB0301 and RU. We already know that RU has a higher binding affinity to the AR than CB0301, which in turn means that it is going to be more efficacious in treating hair loss. But as some of you guys may recall in my recent video, I wouldn't use RU because there aren't any safety data for us to refer to. CB0301, pyrilutamide are undergoing clinical trials that test for safety and efficacy. And because of that, I would feel more comfortable using at least one of them. Now, if the two are able to receive FDA approval and clearance and commercialization, there is a good chance that I will end up hopping on one of the treatments, depending on the one with better efficacy. Because I feel like the best treatment has to at least include a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor like finasteride or dutasteride to address the majority of the androgens, and then throwing in an anti-androgen to address any of the leftover testosterone or DHT, and then even adding in a growth stimulant like minoxidil or even a low dosage of oral minoxidil to increase density would likely be more than enough to act as a preventative measure against further progression of hair loss. But overall, I am pretty optimistic about this particular company and also the direction that they're heading towards, not just for treating hair loss, but also in other areas as well. Kintor has, like I said, just been moving extremely fast with their trials, quicker than any other hair loss treatments that I've researched. And I just hope that their clinical trials will also follow the same pattern. The other interesting part, this is exciting, Kintor, is that they are also undergoing phase 1 clinical trials in China for another topical treatment called GT20029, which is also to be used for treating androgenic alopecia and acne. Apparently, GT20029 works in a different mechanism of action as well. It is a unique androgen receptor degrader that degrades the AR protein, which reduces the sensitivity of AR to androgens without systemic exposure and accumulation of the drug. This would definitely be a new level of treatment for hair loss, and if it could locally dull the AR, it could theoretically, in my opinion, I think can stop hair loss. I feel like androgen receptor degraders hold a lot of promise in the field of medicine, not just for hair loss. If we can specifically choose and target and degrade certain proteins, for example, I read about a protein called BCR-ABL, which is responsible for abnormal or uncontrolled growth, and it's associated oftentimes with breast cancer and specific types of leukemia. We may very well be on a path that can lead to a cure in cancer in addition to other diseases. So if we can theoretically be able to target the androgen receptors specifically on the scalp and degrade them while leaving the rest of the other ARs in our body intact, we may very well be able to halt further progression of hair loss. But once again, you know, the company is still in their infancy with this treatment, and we would have to wait to see what happens in phase 1 clinical trials. It's very exciting to say at the very least, and this company is simply just on fire, you know, just pumping out all these potential treatments left and right, and I really do hope that we get some promising news. It's crazy to think that for the past 20 years plus, the only FDA approved treatments we have are just finasteride and finasteride and minoxidil. Not that anything's wrong with them, but I feel like we really need these companies, hair loss companies, to pull their weight and start introducing other treatments that target hair loss in different mechanisms of action, you know, with better efficacy and fewer side effects. I'm not even counting on a hair loss cure with stem cell multiplication at this point, because all of the ones that are apparently still researching or undergoing clinical trials haven't really said much. And more often than not, these companies fade away in silence or go bankrupt, or the treatment doesn't work, or for some reason they come across a major hurdle that they can't figure out. So I'm really placing all of my eggs in a company that is striving for better treatment options that we can use in conjunction with existing hair loss treatments. I hate to be negative, but it seems like it's still going to be a long way before a hair loss cure is even going to happen. So if you are noticing hair loss, please don't wait in hopes of better treatments or even a cure to happen anytime soon. Jump on, finasteride, dutasteride, microneedling with minoxidil, and depending on your risk tolerance, you can explore off-label drugs, oral minoxidil, topical anti-androgens. The key is to be proactive and to take action, and by using proven treatments. And this way you guys are going to be able to hold on to as much hair as you possibly can before we can get better treatment options. But that's all I have to say in this video. Hope you guys enjoyed the update from Kintor Pharmaceutical. Let's try to be optimistic and hope for some exciting news. Let me know your thoughts on Kintor and their anti-androgen KX-826. Leave me some comments below. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for all of your support, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Take care.